I want to get your thoughts on like the FIRE movement or the fat FIRE movement for people listening who aren't familiar with that. It's like financial independence, retire early. It's like on Reddit, people essentially who like kind of live lives of frugality to figure out what their number is to the point where they could just stop working and then, go on in their mind, kind of live their life, right? But they're living their life in a way that's, really very much on the cheap, right? And then the fat FIRE movement is very similar, but they're living at large, but it's still saying that I'm trying to get to this number that when I get there, then I'll start doing all the things I want to do.
Right. So just talking about the FIRE movement, I like the FIRE guys, particularly because they understand the concept of enough. Like the birth of the FIRE movement, or the mother of the FIRE movement is this book called Your Money or Your Life. It would be the Bible before the FIRE movement. And that book really gets into concept of what is money? And the universal definition they use is money is something we exchange our time for. And then 2, the concept of enough, which is like you have everything that you need and you want out of life, plus maybe a little bit more, right? And so the FIRE people say, okay, I'm going to live as frugally as I possibly can, right? Work and save and bare bones. My ego is out of this, etc. And then I am going to live off the principle of my investments and the returns of my investments for the rest of my life and do whatever the hell I want, right? And in the United States of America, in a place where we have a savings problem, etc., I it's not like I hate the FIRE movement. I just think it's inefficient and incorrect. And here's the reason why. I use this as an example. There is no amount of money you can pay me to do 10 years in Sing Sing. 0, right? And so maybe I would have you could have paid me when I was 20 to do 2 years, a lot of money, and I go out, right? But there is no money now in my life that I would pay to do 10 years in Sing Sing. And so what these people are doing, in essence, is going to a jail of their own making, but a jail. And then saying, oh, when I come out, this is my reward. I'm going to get some money for doing this jail stint, right? The second thing that's wrong with it is that they're just a mathematical calculation. They build up this principal and they live off the interest and the dividends, but they should be spending down the principal as well. To the extent that they die with the principal left is hours of their life that they wasted in jail that they never get the gratification from, right? Delayed gratification at its extreme is no gratification. So they literally wasted hours and years of their lives by going in jail, right? So those are the 2 things I have wrong with the FIRE movement. And so, I think some of them have actually said, yeah, you're right. Why would I leave the principal? Like I would spend down the principal. And then some of them thought like, why would I go in jail and remove all these experiences that are for this period of my life? Like there are certain experiences that are only meant or best done in your 20s. There are some that are best in your 30s and in 40s. And then that's the same for every person, but every person has them go, yeah, you're right. These are experiences that belong in this time bucket of my life. And these are the experiences that belong in this time bucket of life. And it's difficult or impossible to transfer these experiences from time bucket to time bucket. So if you take a time bucket and say, hey, I'm going to jail, all those experiences that don't transfer out, you never get them. And therefore, I'd say your life is less fulfilling. And I'm not solving for max money. I'm solving for max fulfillment.
On converse of that, you do make it clear in the book that you want to live every day well, but at the same time being mindful that you don't want to live like every day like today's your last day, right? So just completely YOLO every day.
No. Like it's that's the problem, right? That's the original problem I was thinking about. It's not like, oh, you spend all the money YOLO every day. Like the day you die informs your behavior today. Right? You can just do the thought experiment, right? Like the day before you're going to die, your behavior is going to be wildly different from 5 years before you die, from 10 years before you die, and so on. You just integral. Like if it's 1 day, 2 days before you're going to die, if you absolutely know 3 days, right, your behavior changes. And so it's very important to be aware of 1, your death, and 2, your physical decline, so that you allocate your spending, which is your choices, right, appropriately, right? And so, I talk in the book is like, listen, the main experience we want is to survive, right? Your survival number. And then after your survival number, so I'm not working, I got my food, clothing, and shelter paid for, the rest are choices. It's about thriving. So how do I thrive? What does thrive mean to me? And that's different for every single person. And survival is pretty much defined amongst every person. I need food, clothing, and shelter, right? What do I need to survive? And that's different if you live in Iowa City, Iowa versus, Palm Springs or Atlanta, Georgia, right? Like, so all the, you run those numbers, you run these calculations, et cetera. And then you're like, okay, now I have this pile of choices. We're going to call them choices, but it's really money, right? How do I allocate that throughout my life? What is the way to get the maximum fulfillment? Am I putting my ski dollars or my wake surfing dollars in the 65 to 75 bucket when they really probably belong here, right? Or am I riding around trains? I'm talking about myself. Riding around trains, which I love. Am I riding trains now and not doing other activities that I should be doing now? And I should really put trains in the future. Like, one of the things I don't do, just in terms of like a no money decision or a low money decision, is I don't watch any series or any TV unless my wife forces me to. And people are like, why? And I was like, one, I get low value out of news, or I didn't even watch the news, right? I get my information from other sources. Like, most of the stuff doesn't pertain for me. I have no way of impacting me. It's just not interesting to me. But the main reason is that there will be a time when all I do is watch TV, where that is my main source of entertainment, is sitting in front of a screen and watching shows. And so I can't wait to watch some of these shows. Like, I cannot wait to watch, Big Bang Theory and all the Seinfeld episodes and all these shows that people say are great. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I got them all in the time bucket in the future. And now I do all the other things, like going outdoors and traveling and doing the other stuff. And so that's part of the like no money allocation and optimizing of my life.